Let's go ahead and start this practice on our backs. It can be in any comfortable form, any position that feels of interest in your body at this moment. And you might allow yourself to experiment with a couple different leg placements or arm placements until you find one that feels nice and supportive. And from here, your task can become noticing your breath. You might notice where in your body you're most aware of it. Perhaps at your nostrils, maybe in your chest or abdomen. And here, every exhale is an invitation to settle. To feel the support of your mat and to allow your body to release, at least in the ways that maybe feel okay to release. There might still be some holding, and that's fine too. And given today, we know that this holiday stems from some pretty unpleasant and uncool parts of our nation's history. And we also know that in the modern connotation of the day, there is a lot of practices of gratitude. And so with that in mind, I would like to offer you this quote that I heard, and I can't recall where I even heard it, but it's, if the only prayer you ever said in your life was thank you, that would be enough. If the only prayer you ever said in your life was thank you, that would be enough. As we continue to breathe here, I'd like to offer an option, which would be to experiment with that felt sense of thank you. What does it feel like to truly feel grateful? To feel that thank you in your body, not just as words. You might even bring to mind something that you're particularly thankful for in this moment. As we prepare to start moving, remember that all throughout this practice, you're welcome to stray from what I offer. These are just ideas, not demands. So on an inhale, we can begin by stretching arms up overhead, finding a little bit of length through the side bodies, maybe wiggling shoulders and hips a little side to side. We'll eventually draw your knees up, letting your legs be bent and floating in the air. And from here, we can bring arms out to a T, palms are facing down. Your knees can make some circles in the air, up over your hips. You might notice a little bit of a fieriness the further your knees get toward the front edge of your mat. So your core activates, make sure you go both directions. And then when your knees are back in a neutral spot, we're going to start by doing some movement that is targeted toward the fascia. So let's go ahead and draw your knees toward your left armpit and then away through center and then in toward your right armpit. And you can keep doing this movement back and forth. It can be big or small, fast or slow. You might notice the back side of your body, those three curves, the curve of your pelvis, of your shoulders, of the back of your head. And there's an invitation to create a little bit more heaviness in those three curves. Really isolating this movement into your hips in the process. And from here, If you'd like to keep your arms where they are, you're welcome to. If you'd like to add a little bit more movement into your shoulders, you can act as though you're carrying a beach ball, and then your knees are moving around it, and you're going to lower the beach ball to the opposite side that your knees are at any given point. And again, this can be really slow, it can be fast. You can use momentum, or you can make it a really controlled movement. It just has a different feel in your body. And so whatever you do, just be aware of the effect it's having. And then if you'd like to add in your head here, we'll roll to look to the same side that the knees are at. Just gently rolling on the back side of your head. Find your breath. And you might remain here for 3, 2, and 1. Let's go ahead and reach out the right arm. We're going to roll to that side. You can either extend your right arm toward the back edge of the mat and rest your right ear upon the flesh of your upper arm, or you can place your hand underneath the base of your skull to hold you up. And we're going to reach the left foot back on the mat and kind of reach out of that knee. Here we're stretching out the front side of the hips where we just activated quite a bit. Folks, if somebody's unmuted, I'll go ahead and get that. And then as you feel ready to go to the other side, we'll just unwind, roll onto your back, roll over to your left side again, choose where you'd like your arm to be, and then land your right toes behind you, reach out of that knee a little bit until you feel some stretching sensation on the front side of your hip. Let's go ahead and roll back to our backs. And from here, you might bring your knees in and rock a little side to side. We're going to make our way all the way up to the front edge of the mat. And I'm going to offer some rolls, but feel free to choose something else if that doesn't feel good in your body at this point in the day. So if you'd like to find some rolls, I like to reach my arms behind me for some counterweight. And then you can start to kind of lift your hips, build some momentum, rock along your spine. And then eventually, when your legs come up, your arms can swing and find your way to the front edge of your mat. Let's take a moment. Inhale, sweep your arms up tall. Exhale, right fingertips lower, reach over with your left arm. Find your way back through center on an inhale. And exhale, we'll go the other direction. This time as you inhale, bring both arms up. On the exhale, left hand finds your right knee. Right hand might find the mat or your low back. Gentle twist. On your inhale, feel length through your spine. And on your exhale, maybe explore that twist a little bit more. Inhale, let's unwind, arms come back up. Resetting to exhale, go to the other side. Inhale, lengthens. Exhale, twists. Inhale, return through center. And on the exhale, we're going to rock over to find hands and knees. Now, one way I've really been enjoying doing that lately is kind of coming through a yogi squat. And so you can try to rock up to a yogi squat and go back, or choose some other method. There's no right or wrong way. All right, now from here, let's take some time to warm up the wrists. Check that your wrists are more or less beneath your shoulders. Root down through each finger, especially the base of your index finger and through your thumb. And then from here, begin rocking forward and back, feeling that sensation through your wrists and forearms. You might tuck your toes under and rock far back so that you're working your wrists on the front part and the bottoms of your feet on the back. A couple more breaths here, maybe finding some side to side movement or even turning your fingers to the edges of the mat, shifting your shoulders from one side to the other. We'll come back through center and let's move hands maybe a handprint more forward here. Knees are still beneath the hips. Untuck those toes if they're tucked. We're going to shift back toward a child's form, but keep your chin lifted, gaze to the front edge of the mat. And then on an exhale, Press into your fingertips, feel your low belly draw in, roundness in your shoulders, and rock back forward until your shoulders are closer to your wrists, and then shift back, child's form. Okay, exhale to really round and rock forward. Inhale sends you back. You might even lift your tailbone and your chin. Exhale, round forward, think cat form. Inhale, pull yourself back, think cow form. So do a couple more breaths here. Let your speed be determined by your breath. One more cycle. This time as you make your way back to that child's form, pause here for a moment. Bring your forehead to the mat, maybe rock a little side to side on your forehead, softening any muscles of the face, softening through your jaw. Perhaps noticing the temperature of your body at this point in the practice as we've just started to meet some movement. And then on an inhale, go ahead and lift your head enough to gaze forward. And we're gonna rock all the way through. Keep your body low as you land your pelvis. Draw your shoulder blades toward one another. Think of rooting your pelvis into the mat, pressing the tops of your feet into the mat, and then peel your heart gently up, only as much as feels workable right now. And exhale to release. Let's do a couple more of those. Inhale, lift. Keep pressing pelvis and feet down. And exhale, release. This last one, we're going to inhale, lift, and pause. Notice your hands on the mat. Think of dragging your heart a little more forward and then press into your hands just a smidge to lift a little bit higher. Drag your heart forward, press into the hands. Notice how this back and forth maybe feels a little more active through your entire length of your spine. You can even draw your chin gently in to get the activation in the backside of your neck. One more breath here, feeling strength through the backside of your body. And exhale, slow release. Go ahead and widen your hands, tented fingers beneath elbows. Press into the tops of your feet. Inhale, lift up. On the exhale, lower your left shoulder, look right. Inhale back through center. Lower right, look left. Inhale through center. On your exhale, gentle release back to the mat. Place your hands so that you can go up and back. First downward facing dog of the flow. You might explore it for a moment. Notice where in your body you're most aware of sensation when you're in this form. Take about one more cycle of breath here. And then on an inhale, right leg reaches up. Exhale, look toward the front. We're going to step it outside of your right hand. Lower your left knee, take a breath in. And on your exhale, left foot steps outside of left hand. Inhale, halfway lift, active squat. Take a moment here, feeling your feet on the mat, checking that you can see both your big toes, knees aren't knocked inward. And then use an inhale to lift all the way up. Overhead, catch opposite elbows. You might step your feet a little closer to each other. Draw your shoulders down and back. Anchor your tailbone down so you have a nice long spine. On your exhale, lean over to the left. Inhale returns you through center. And exhale, lean to the right. Inhale brings you back through center. Keep your hands where they are. Lift your chin up, look up, and try to lift gently through your heart space. So we're still rooting down through the tailbone, but lifting the heart as though the shoulder blades are acting as a shelf for the heart in this instance. And then gently release out of this. Step your feet back to that wider stance. Hands reach forward, active squat. Take a breath here. And exhale, hands come down to the mat. We're gonna step the right foot back, lower that knee, take a breath in. And on your exhale, find your plank form. We're going to stay here for just another moment or two. You might notice if you're pressing again into the base of your index finger, that can provide some support for your wrists. You can also create a little bit of roundness through the backside of your shoulders here to keep your shoulders active. And then from here, we're all going to lower knees and then chest and chin, hips stay to a hover. And then as you pull your hips to the mat, your heart reaches up, shoulders draw back, cobra form. Exhale, release. And then find your way up and back to a downward facing dog. Couple breaths here to reset. Maybe you're finding movement, maybe you're finding stillness. On your next inhale, sweep your left leg high. Exhale, look forward, step it outside of your left hand, right knee lowers, take a breath in. On your exhale, step your right foot forward and wide, find that active squat. Here for a breath. Inhale, lifts you up. This time overhead, we're gonna catch opposite elbows. So whichever forearm in front feels a little awkward. You might again move your feet a bit closer here. Find that length reaching up through your head, but down through your tailbone. Exhale, lean to the right, hips go left. Inhale returns you through center. And exhale, lean left, hips go right. Inhale through center. Gently find that heart opener again. Weighting through your feet, lifting through your heart space, even while keeping a neutral pelvis. Gently inflate your way back up. Release your hands, step your feet wide, active squat. One breath here. Exhale, fingertips lower. Step that left foot back, lower that knee as you inhale. And on the exhale, plank form. All right, this time we're going to do something slightly different. So we did a kind of fun, funky vinyasa that last time. We're going to do something different this time. Lower your knees, shift your hips back, and then land your elbows on the mat. You're gazing toward the front. We're going to stay as low as you can. Keep your shoulders drawn toward each other on the back, collarbones wide. Stay low as you rock forward, peel your elbows up, land your pelvis, cobra form. All right, so just another way to vinyasa. Exhale to release. Find your way up and back, downward facing dog. So as we move into our main flow, keep in mind that anytime there is an option for a vinyasa, you're always welcome to adjust, and those two options that we just practiced are absolutely options. All right, one more breath here. On an inhale, sweep the right leg high. This time, bend your knee, opening the hip, squeeze, heel towards sit bone, reach that knee up toward the ceiling. And then on your exhale, look forward, step outside of your right hand. Left knee lowers, this time left hand stays grounded, but we're gonna reach that right arm up, maybe even back, finding some twisting motion through your abdomen here. Gently return to face forward, lift your left knee, step it wide. Active squat. Here for a breath, and then let an inhale bring you up. This time, we're going to interlace fingers and bring your hands to the base of your skull. Again, your feet can step a little bit inward. Now let there be a slight resistance. It's not a force here of like, how hard can I press my hands to my head and my head to my hands? There's a little bit of engagement there. Your elbows are drawing away from each other. Shoulders are drawing together on the backside of your body. Now from here, root down into your feet and then begin to lift again through the heart space. So another back bend, but this one getting maybe a little bit more into the shoulders in the process. Be quite gentle with yourself here. On an inhale, gently release, shake out your arms, maybe shake out your whole body. And we're gonna bring hands forward, step your feet wide, find that active squat. On the exhale, hands come down through heart center. Shift so that your fingers in your torso are facing your right toes. Now from here, keep a bend in that front leg. We're gonna swing the left leg up and back, finding our way into a warrior three. Reach out of the crown of your head, out of that heel, and then lower the toes down on the mat, or maybe it's off the mat, but we're lowered down, setting up now for a high lunge. Inhale, bring your torso and arms up. All right, we have some options here. Option one, we're already in. Option two, you might have liked that twist that we added, so maybe you find left hand forward, right hand back. We're going to twist. Option three is going to be that fingers interlace at the base of the skull, either finding a heart opener or maybe moving your torso a little bit side to side. Think about what feels most interesting in your body at this point. No option is better than the other. They're just different. Here for about 2 more cycles of breath. Let's, on your next exhale, lean forward, fingertips can frame out this front foot. We're gonna shift into the front foot enough. You can lift your back leg for a standing split. You might bend and straighten into your front leg. And then lower your left foot behind you. Left hand stays inside of the right foot. Inhale, right arm opens up, finding a twist here. Although it's in the abdomen, you might feel it a little in your hips. If you're liking how that feels in your outer hip, you might continue to deepen into it, which would look like turning your right toes out to the right, coming onto the outside edge of your left foot. Maybe you lower your hips a bit toward the mat, reach back with your lifted arm. Come back up. We're all gonna unwind, face the front edge of your mat here, and then keep crawling all the way to your back foot. You might have to do some adjusting so that we're actually on the mat a little more straight. Lower your right knee, take a breath in, look up. On your exhale, straighten both legs, any amount, look back. Inhale, then look up. Exhale, straighten, look back. This time as you inhale, bend, we're going to stay here in our low lunge. Let's start by bringing both hands to the left leg. Take a moment to square and level your hips. And then from here, both hands press into the front leg, creating some distance between your abdomen and your left thigh. This can be a pretty intense stretch in your right hip. You might stay right here. Maybe you're liking that heart opener work that we've been doing, and so you cactus out your arms. Or maybe you find a twist. And those are kind of the 3 veins that we've been working in thus far. Of course, there might be other things that you're welcome to find as well. Take about 3 more seconds here. You can always pulse in and out a little bit too. Sometimes that feels nice to kind of titrate the sensation. On your exhale, hinge forward, hands find the mat, left foot steps back, plank form. Find any vinyasa of your choosing, including skipping a vinyasa altogether. We'll meet in a downward facing form. From here, right leg can inhale up. On the exhale, knee toward nose or forehead, hips stay high. Inhale up. Exhale, knee toward right elbow, hips stay high. Inhale up. Exhale, we're gonna go knee across the body, but kick your leg out, let it land. Inhale, left arm reaches up. Exhale, left hand plants, right leg comes back up one final time, and step it forward. All right, from here, lower your left knee, and we're gonna shift the hips back, straightening through the right leg any amount, finding our half split form. And so you can pulse in and out of this, or if holding still feels quite nice, then allow yourself to do that. This is also a great one to bring your torso upright if you're feeling like there's just too much happening in the form. And then lean forward with your heart any amount. Now, for this form, if you do deal with sciatica at all, a nice addition to it is to really tuck your chin, trying to look like at your belly button, and then look forward and lift your head up. Tuck and round, look forward. So you're actually flossing that sciatic nerve. In most forward folded shapes, you can do this. Now, if your sciatica is on your other side, you're probably not feeling anything here other than like some neck movement. And so that's some good feedback for you as well. To start to identify which side is most problematic since it tends to be asymmetrical. One more cycle of breath wherever you are. As you inhale, bend into your right leg, curl your left toes under, lift that knee, and crawl all the way back to the front edge of your mat. And then from here, we're going to step the left foot back. We're going to lower the knees and come to a seat on your heels. You might gaze downward or close your eyes. Scan through your body. We just spun a single circle to the left, working only the right side. And the left side was there, but it was kind of just like tagging along. And we really worked two ranges of motion. So focusing mostly on the front side and the back side of the right side of the body. And so you might scan through and just notice if you can tell the difference between your left and right sides right now. Perhaps this is an opportunity to return to your breath if it's kind of fallen to the wayside. Perhaps this is an opportunity to reconnect to that visceral experiment from the start of class. What does thank you feel like? Does gratitude feel like? You might even notice where in your body you're most aware of that. One more breath here. Blink your eyes open if they were closed. We're going to begin to make our way through all of that on the second side. So starting in a downward facing dog as you feel ready. On your inhale, left leg can lift high. We'll bend that knee, opening the hip, squeeze, heel to sit bone, reach out of the knee. Very similar to that hip stretch we did on our back sides earlier today. And then extend that leg up, look forward, step left foot outside of left hand. Lower your right knee, but this time we'll reach the left arm up and back, finding a gentle twist. Left hand can return to the mat and step your right foot forward, active squat. On an inhale, find your way up. Interlace your fingers, the non-dominant grip. You might feel a little awkward. Again, step your feet a bit closer. Your hands can come to the base of your skull. Find that gentle engagement. Hands to head, head to hands. Feel your tailbone root down, creating length in your spine, neutrality in your pelvis. And then from here, begin to lift your heart any amount. Keep your elbows drawing back in space behind you. Use an inhale to gently lift back up and out of this. Release everything, maybe shake it out. We're gonna step the feet wide again and find that active squat. This place we keep returning to. But this time, before we go to the other side of our warrior three, we're actually gonna follow through with the forward fold. And so we have a little bit wider base. You might move side to side. You might shake your head out. Grab opposite elbows. If you're again wanting to work some sciatic movement into this, you can step your feet a bit closer and do that same motion with your head. So really rounding in to look in and then lifting and looking up. And you might feel the nerve flossing that happens. Stay here for about 2 more cycles of breath, wherever here is for you. And gently on an inhale, soften into your knees, lift halfway up, bring your arms forward, find that active squat. Hands to heart center. Turn so that your torso and fingers point in the same direction as your left toes and begin to shift into that foot as you swing your left leg up and back. Warrior three, one of our stronger forms in this sequence today. Lower your back toes. Set yourself up for a high lunge, crescent lunge. Same options here. So might find an open twist, right arm reaching forward, left arm reaching back. You might keep that interlace at the base of your skull and find that gentle heart opener. Or you might tilt a little bit side to side with your fingers at your base of your skull. A few more breaths here. Begin to gently release out. We're going to fold over this front leg. Shift into that leg, becoming lighter in the back leg until you feel like you can spring that back leg up for a standing split. And then we'll bend and straighten into this bottom leg, warming up this hamstring. All right, go ahead and lower your right toes. Crawl your hands toward the right all the way until you're facing the back edge of your mat. You, again, can readjust a little bit. We're going to lower the left knee on an inhale, look up. And then on the exhale, straighten both legs any amount to look back. A couple more times. Oscillating between low lunge and pyramid. The next time that you inhale and your left knee lowers, go ahead and stay there. This is where we crawl hands up onto the right leg. And you have a moment here to press away, creating space between your belly and your thigh. And you might notice if that feels like a place you want to stay. If you wanted to cactus out your arms or find an open twist. There can always be pulsation in any form. It's a nice way to kind of, I don't know, invite some gentleness into a practice. And also to teach ourselves that it's okay to move away from sensation. Our culture is all about doing more, going harder. What does it feel like if we give ourselves permission to move away from sensation? One more breath here. On your exhale, hinge at your hips, fingertips find the mat, untuck your back toes. And actually, no, sorry, tuck your back toes and go ahead and step it back into a plank form. option to take a vinyasa, to skip a vinyasa, to find a vinyasa that you don't normally do. We'll meet in a downward facing form. And from here, we'll lift the left leg high. Exhale, knee toward nose or forehead. Inhale, extend. Exhale, left knee toward left elbow. Inhale, extend. Exhale, left knee toward right elbow. Kick your leg out, land your foot. Inhale, right arm reaches up. And exhale, right hand returns to the mat, left leg reaches high. Go ahead and step your foot toward your hands. Lower your right knee, and then we're gonna crawl the hands back, setting up for a half split. And again, you can move in and out of this, or you can opt for some stillness here. You can have your hands on the mat or on blocks, or you can bring your hands to your hips and your torso is a little more upright, and then reach your heart forward from here. This is a great one if you're protecting your low back, or if you want to add in that balancey element. And again, this is a great place to add in that sciatic work. So chin tucks and lifts. Here for a couple more breaths. And begin to gently bend into your left leg. Right toes curl under. We're going to lift that knee, crawl all the way back to the front edge of the mat. And from here, I'm trying to remember how we got there now. From here, we are going to, no, actually, go back to the back edge. Sorry, y'all. I skipped this on the earlier in the sequence, but we're going to get to it now. Keep your right hand planted. Inhale, left arm reaches up. And then if you're liking this sensation here, this is where we'll have the chance to turn left toes out to the edge of the mat, roll onto the outer edge of your right foot. Maybe you bend into this a little bit, side bending into it, lowering your hips and lifting. And then from here, we're going to unwind, crawl all the way back to the front edge of your mat. Plant your hands, step your right foot back, lower your knees, and come to a seated form. If this doesn't feel good in your knees, you are welcome to choose something else as well. As we land here for a second time, this time with our bodies more balanced, even though we may go in a little bit out of order there, you might scan through and see if you have a felt sense of that. It's okay if you don't. It's just an exploration. You might notice if there are zones of your body that seem to want a little bit of attention. Feel free to add in wiggles or movements. We again have this invitation to connect with what it feels like to be grateful. Perhaps this time we add in, what does it feel like when somebody expresses gratitude to you or for you? Does that feel the same or different in your body than when you're feeling grateful for something or someone else? And prepare to move into our other ranges of motion. We've experimented with a few now, but we're going to get a little bit more into moving away from midline and toward midline. Find some rotation through our hips. So as you feel ready, you might blink your eyes open and then eventually crawl your hands forward into a tabletop form. And then from here, we'll reach the right leg out. You can curl your toes under, maybe rock back into that leg a little bit. It might feel nice on your knee since we were just seated, but it might also feel like a stretch in your calf muscle. And then from here, go ahead and lift your right leg and then swing it out to the right. Land your foot more or less in line with your left knee. And we're going to shift hips back toward an asymmetrical child's form and then forward. Do this a couple more times. The next time you're shifted back, we're going to stay here for a couple of breaths. You might add in some movement, some engagement, playing with pressing into your foot versus relaxing into that foot. Which sensation do you prefer? And then as you feel ready, lift back up, but this time we're going to lift the torso completely up for gate form. Shift your hips down into the left. Crawl your right fingers down your right leg as your left arm reaches up and over. And then on an inhale, we'll come through center, arms reach out to a T. And you're going to lean toward your left as though you're bringing your left fingertips down, and maybe try to float your left fingertips and your right foot at the same time. It's okay if you land on your left hand or your right foot. We're just trying to find some balance maybe. And we'll go ahead and release. From here, hands crawl back to the front edge of the mat. Bring your right foot with you outside of both hands. And then swing your left shin parallel to the skinny edges of your mat. So right here, you can kind of bend in and out of your right leg. Maybe you notice some sensation there. It might feel nice to leave your right hand planted and inhale your left arm up in this variation of a side angle. And then we can all bring both hands back to the mat. Crawl your hands so that you're kind of creating a triangle, an equilateral triangle between your left knee, your right heel, and then both your hands. And you can crawl your hands forward and soften your torso down any amount. Again, there can be bends and straightens in your right knee. This can be a nice place to oscillate a bit. On an inhale, go ahead and crawl your hands back in. Turn to face the front edge of your mat and swing your left leg back into line. From here, left hand stays planted, right arm reaches up and back, similar to how we did at the start of this whole flow. This time you might roll onto the top of your left kneecap and bend that leg. We've already stretched the front side of that hip. This might feel like a nice addition. Unwind, face the front edge of your mat. Curl your left toes under, lift that knee. We have another inhale, open twist, right arm reaches up. On the exhale, right hand threads under left armpit, open to the long edge of your mat. All toes point forward, inhale, long spine. On the exhale, melt. Find your wide-legged forward fold. Perhaps finding movement here, perhaps finding stillness. I really love adding in, you interlace at the base of your skull and kind of hug your elbows around your ears and let your arms act as dead weight. That elongation through the neck can feel really lovely. You can crawl your hands forward or back. Here for a couple more breaths. On an inhale, crawl your hands forward, long spine. We're going to return to the front edge of the mat. Step your left foot so that it's kind of like you're walking a tightrope behind your right, and then come up to standing. Let there be a generous bend in your knees to support your balance there. It's a tricky one. And you can adjust if you want your feet right next to each other, if you want them spread out a little bit more. Hands can be at your hips. Let there be a little micro bend into your knees. And then keep your hips fairly square to the front edge of the mat. Begin to hinge forward. Your hands can always crawl down your legs, or maybe you have a wall in front of you like I do. You can use that as a support. Your hands might come down to the mat. This is another great place to do that tuck of the chin and lift if you're working on that sciatic nerve pain at all. One more breath here. On the exhale, begin to soften into your knees. We're going to step the left foot back, lower that knee, and then from here, your right foot is going to heel toe across for a pigeon. All right, so you're setting up for your pigeon form. Now, if you know that that does not work well in your body, it doesn't feel good in your joints, you can find a seated pigeon where your right ankle is crossed on your left knee. Neither option is better than the other. They just, again, one might feel more supported by your body at this moment. We're not here long, so take a couple of breaths. Maybe moving through what you want to move through here. You may have noticed that in this final set, we're really close to the mat. We're moving slower. We're preparing to conclude the movement portion of this practice. Sometimes inviting some nice deep breaths, exhaling through the mouth with a sigh or a yawn can feel good at this stage. Get ready to leave this form so you can reverse out the way you came in. And then you'll find your way back to a tabletop, which is where we started this whole set. This time the left leg will extend back. We can rock back into it a little bit. And then from here, lift that leg up, kick it out to the left, land the foot more or less in line with your right knee, and we'll find those rocks back and forward, moving in and out of this asymmetrical child's form, which might feel like quite a stretch on your inner left thigh. And the next time that you're rocked back, we'll stay here for a couple of breaths. You can always add a little microbend into your left knee if you feel like you're hyperextending here at all through your knee. That might help to refocus where you're feeling it. Go ahead and lift up back into this original form, but then we'll bring the torso all the way up for gate form. So this time to level hips, they shift down into the right. Left fingers crawl down your left leg, reach your right arm up and over. On an inhale, arms come out to a T. This is where we find that playful balance. So think of really reaching out of all of your limbs, maybe your left toes hover. You might land on your right fingers or your left toes. Let it be a light landing, a bounce. Come back up. Let's bring both hands down the front edge of the mat. We're going to bring the left foot to land outside of your left hand. All right, so right hand stays planted, left arm reaches up and back. Perhaps you roll to the top of your right kneecap and catch that foot or reach toward it. Gently unwind. From here, we're going to swing the right shin parallel to the skinny edges. Take a moment to bend in and out of your left leg a little bit. And we're just kind of preparing our bodies before holds. Sometimes feel supportive. Next time that you are forward, left hand stays landed. Inhale, right arm up for this lowered side angle. You can bring that hand down. Crawl both hands equidistant from your contact points on the mat. And as you crawl your hands forward, you might soften your torso down, relaxing your head. You crawl your hands in. We're going to turn back to the front edge of the mat. Swing your right leg to line back up with this. Curl your right toes under, lift that knee. Inhale, left arm reaches up. On your exhale, left hand's going to thread underneath the right armpit as you find your way into a wide-legged forward fold. And this might mean finding that interlace and adding the weight of your arms to your head. Or you can let your hands land wherever feels good to you or bind behind you. Find your breath here. Let it be intentional. On an inhale, we can begin to make our way out of this form, coming back to the front edge of the mat, and we'll find that tightrope form. So right foot steps behind the left, bend in your knees to stand. Make any adjustments here that feel supportive, including a micro bend in your knees. Hands at your hips, you can begin to hinge forward. Again, your hands might crawl down your front leg or come to a wall or a support of some sort. You might do those chin tucks and lifts. As we prepare to leave this form, we'll step the right foot back and lower that knee. And again, make our way into a pigeon. So that might mean heel toeing your left foot across the mat, or it might mean finding your way to a seat and working into the shape that way. We're not here long. The last time we were here, we come into this set from a really fiery part of practice. This time, we already had the other side of this more grounding flow leading us into it. So you might feel your body temperature, noticing if it's cooled down a bit. Your breath might be quite back to normal. One more cycle of breath here. Make your way out, just reverse how you came in. And then from here, take a moment to notice what would feel most supportive to you. Our final bits of class are going to be in the form of stillness. And so you might grab another layer. Maybe you have some cozy items around you that will help you find a supported form for the end. It can be seated or you can be lying down. You might even lie down and have your legs up a wall or resting on, like the edge of the couch or something like that. Wherever you land, you are welcome to find movements and stuff on your way there or while you get there. There might be something else your body's craving. Maybe there's certain things that you regularly do at the end of your practice that help you kind of tie up that ritual. We're going to bring our attention to our breath here. And the focus is going to be on the exhale. And so allow yourself to inhale at whatever cadence feels natural. And then when the exhale comes around, focus on lengthening it. It might feel like a sigh even as you exhale. Continue focusing on that long exhale. If you'd like to add into that sensation of gratitude, at the heart of all gratitude is acceptance. That's what Rod Stryker often says. And we consider what that means for us here. You might scan through your life and notice that there are places where you're resisting what is real. There are places that hold tension to you, perhaps because they feel unpleasant. And this isn't to say that we are okay with those things, that we passively accept them or allow them. Whatever the situation might be, it is the way it is, even as we are working against it or to change it. It is exactly as it is. So adding into that felt sense of gratitude, what is the felt sense of acceptance? Take those long exhales, even while maybe exploring what acceptance feels like in your body. In this moment, how can you soften any holding? It's basically a practice of trust. Your body might not feel like it can release all holding right now, and that's okay. It's all relative. So perhaps you notice if there can be just a bit more softness. So that way we accept this moment. Perhaps that opens the door to be grateful for it as well. You can let your breath return to a natural cadence. Notice if your mind begins to wander, you can always return to the focus being on your exhale or to that felt sense of gratitude. Here for just a moment longer. Be prepared to shift away from this place of stillness. So I take a moment to just scan through your body. Notice your breath. Let yourself linger on anything that came up in this practice that feels of service to you. There might be little wiggles or movements that support you in transitioning from this place. Find a stretch or change your breath in some way. Eventually, we'll make our way into a seated form. So allow yourself time and exploration in getting there. from here. If it's a gesture that's meaningful to you, you might inhale your arms out and up, palms touching overhead. And then exhale your hands to heart center, letting your thumbs rest on your chest. And here the invitation is to remember that this stillness, this groundedness exists within you always. This is a great place to maybe even send a note of gratitude to yourself, to your body for showing up today and carrying you through this practice. I am appreciative of all of you sharing your morning in this space. I thank you and I hope that you have a lovely and intentional day.